Good morning. This is a recording, not a live event like it was supposed to be. My apologies for those who registered to the live event. But you have, if you are accessing all the channels that we are streaming, you will have access to this show today, which is the first of three in a series about return of craftsmanship. And that's really a very important fiber of life into today's situation, 2025, for any human being having to function in the world, in the Western world, where the corporate and the organizations have something in common to share and same challenges to share. When you are going to work at any kind of capacity, leadership, especially because that's our focus here, any kind of leadership, as soon as you are, in fact, dealing with other people, that's leadership. Even if you're a project manager or a planner, you are facilitating a group of people and you're responsible for a project and you involve other people in the project. Your role is to manage, is to lead. You get to engage people, you get to inspire people, right? So that's my understanding of leadership, and that's my understanding of my role as a coach to try to listen actively to whatever the challenge can be in that situation of interacting, communicating, and having an impact, an influence. Whoever you are, whichever personality you have, the personality is your DNA, is who you are, and you bring that to the world. So that's one thing we're discussing every single day with all the clients that I see, or individuals, or teams, or groups of people, workshops that I facilitate, uh, keynotes that I would have to probably do sometimes in front of an audience talking about innovation or about organizations. But there is one thing that remains in my mind all the time. How do we remain authentic and do we play really out there the best of ourselves so that we are bringing our DNA there? We understand ourselves. We do the effort of introspection to see what is to be improved. That's what assessments are meant for. If there is a feedback from your staff or anybody on a 360 or 180, whatever you call it, these assessments give you some indications, only if they resonate with you, about what to develop, what to become better about, because you got feedback. And sometimes you ask feedback for after you did something or in a real-time basis. People are sometimes generous to give it to you sincerely, authentically, without any fear that something would go back against them because they would tell you something true that is not necessarily comfortable to hear, right? So this is the whole thing I wanted to say first to cover the whole coaching side of things. Why do I bring craftsmanship in such a setting? Why? It's always in my mind. Always in my mind. I have a very incredible admiration for people who work with their hands. And you find them today in a kitchen, the chefs and all the different teams that work with a chef. You find them in a clock workshop where they're fixing watches or create watches. That one, that one is the magical moment that I had one day a few years ago when I visited one factory in Switzerland and really was watching for a good hour one of those craftsmen fixing a very old watch. And when this watch at one point had to be started, and he did a little gesture with his fingers like that. And then you started to see the heart beating. That's the watch. That's the work of a man and that person's hands giving life, literally, to a little object that gives you the time precisely. There's a lot of jokes about how precise those watches are in Switzerland, but that's really an embodiment of a good symbol for me. And I sometimes really use imaging a lot, in fact, not sometimes, almost systematically, and visualize something to get the strength that I need sometimes in situations where I'm challenged. And I want to stick to that image of this man had the power in his work and in his using his aptitude and his talents to give life to a small object like this that you will have on your wrist that has style, that has value. This was a very expensive one, probably. This is a company in Switzerland that really sells, I think, the minimum amount of you pay for a watch in that AP brand. I will not, divulge too much of the name, but now AP you can probably relate is at least ten or $20,000 because there is a lot of precious metals and things like that and stones in this mechanism. But it's a mechanic. It's a mechanism with the human touch, with the intervention of the human brain, where there is a termination of the brain right there at the finger, at these ends that are doing the job of translating something from creativity and from aptitude and experience and practice and excellence and mastery to an object. It can be a canvas, it can be a sculpture, it can be a raw stone or a white canvas. Everything is there, empty, ready to receive. Now, after that, once the work is completed, there is something to rely on. It's a masterpiece. It will be maybe on a wall one day at the Louvre or in any kind of exhibition, or it can be just in a very nice uh, sitting on a table in a living room or on a desk. But it is the work that was done with all the intention, all the spirit. I would even add the word soul into this effort that was to really create that object or coming up with a masterpiece. And that becomes, the fruit of all of that, of what the human being is about. Now, are we losing this? Are we losing some of this if we are focusing only on the digital, only on technology, only on AI or robots? Are they going to be able to do that? Yeah, they will replace some kind of aspect of that, but they will never have the soul, never have the creativity that a human being has. That's why I put a lot of hope. That keeps me going a lot when I know that there is no replacement possible. And my first proof is craftsmanship. Another thing, another thought, because it's introductory to another two 15-minute shows that I will have to offer you in the next few weeks. It's the second part of the craftsmanship that I want to address. Um, and that's definitely the format of the work. How do you attain excellence when you use your hands? And what is behind that? What is behind that? There's something holistic about it. That's why I encourage a lot my clients when we talk about journaling or taking notes to continue to use a pen and paper. Because I think that the pen, especially if it's journaling or if it's authoring anything, the pen is the termination, is the direct vector or object that is touched by you and will probably express something from you. The essence that you are putting into your effort is going to really pass through in a much more powerful way than it does if you are using a keyboard and you let the computer choose the font and be systematic, having the same size and everything. Why is there calligraphers who are able to read so much from the writing of someone about the person's character or who that person is? Because the expression, and I mean, there's nothing for me to try to prove you that calligraphy is a science and something totally proven. And it will, from the calligraphic experts, give you information about yourself if you're interested to have it interpreted. You will have a lot information about you from your handwriting because it is what the proof of the pudding that I'm trying to put here in the space of airwaves and social media. With this particular point I make, I'm proving to you that craftsmanship, the termination of your body being or your hands or your feet, definitely helps someone in his creativity and communication to convey something much more authentically than it has through all other formats that you use. And believe me, you can use ChatGPT. I do this also, but I do it in a very limited fashion. I do it because I'm French speaking. I mean, I'm, native from France, and I want to just not make people pay the price of trying to say something and not being able to use the right words. Sometimes I'm going to use ChatGPT to just validate or improve, refine what I want to say, what I want to write. But if I write a letter to my wife or to my children, it's going to be authentically my English with my mistakes, but they will have it entirely authentic from me. And that's what I know. I convey when I write something. When I write my own journal or I write my notes, it's my style, it's my voice, it's me. There's nothing in between. You have it authentically. And I really believe, I want you to believe also that, yeah, when it comes from your hands and you're touching whatever is uh, the third party element, an object like a pen or an object like like what you use for a sculpture, doing research work, or a brush, again, using a brush to paint on a canvas, all of that is connected to you directly, deeper than you think, connected to your soul. That's why it's so holistic. That's why it is also sometimes therapeutical. I'm not a therapist, but I know it's true. It has therapeutical effects, positive effects. It's a lot about positivity. And that's why I encourage my clients many times to use reflection and to use time with a pen and paper, because they find out a day or two later, or a year later, or 10 years later, what happened at this moment in a very personal way. Do I get that clear? Do I make it clear? Craftsmanship will come back, third element of my series. It will come back because it's a need. It's definitely a need. It's like eating to fulfill, to satiate your need of eating for your body, your blood, for functioning. We're not fast. We in fact we are volunteering in fact to fast or restrict ourselves by using technology to the extent we do today, and being completely dependent on this technology to the extent we are today. If you understand that you are free to make that choice of using technology as a tool and make it submitted to your will and not it submitting you to them or to it. And it's an it's not someone. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, it falls in the wrong hands and it will be used to manipulate and to create narratives and to manipulate and do all kinds of things that politics does. And politics has been showing lately more than ever, maybe since the Second World War and what was prior to it, how much it is possible to affect people's subconscious and wash their brains and then make them enroll into things that are evil and have the best people in the world, even the best cultured people in the world, like the Germans were before the Second World War, and all aligned to the evil plans that were the Nazis and all of that. That's such a good example, but you can say so many other examples in history proving that point. If you want to remain autonomous and yourself and sane with values and stick to your core values, then you have an opportunity here. That's the opportunity to submit technology and not be submitted by technology. That's the reason why I am totally hopeful. And I think that's the best example through craftsmanship to tell you that we're going to need it. We need it so much. A musician needs a violin, needs an instrument to play. Even definitely a bot can do that job. You will miss the whole creativity and pleasure and quality of performance that a human being can do, because she personalizes the performance of that little musical piece. When it is played by one player or another, by Itzhak Perlman or David Oistrakh for the violin, or Bernstein on piano, or all these big virtuosos, We want to listen to them specifically because we understand as musicians or as amateurs and good having a good ear that we have really a DNA for each one. And that's the DNA we're looking for. This is why we can't remove that point. Nobody can. You can even manipulate genetics as much as you want. Creativity, for those who believe in God, God created human beings and and beings in general because they have some kind, not some kind, they have their own way and mission in this world that they have to play, and this is why they're not replaceable. This is why I think there is something so positive, so constructive to stick to remain positive and hopeful. Craftsmanship is definitely one way, and it's definitely one area where I know it's going to come back in a big way because people will need that tangible contact and physical touch with materials, with the things that we create with our hands, the feeling that we have, our hands to play with, and agriculture, uh, art, gastronomy, culinary arts, all of kind of things that need your hand to do things will resurface to an extent that I'm sure we're going to enjoy, all of us. And we're going to start to reconnect to the reality of being human beings and reconnect in general with each other. We still pay the price of the pandemic times. And we still think that by being virtual or staying home, we are going to do a better job than being in an office space or meeting people in person. Even in coaching, I miss what I used to, what was to systematically see people in person. I have now a little bit portion of that, but I miss that I was doing that much more. Now, back to a craftsmanship to stick to the topic. Let's meet again next week. Get into the first part, which explains more the part of why hands and the physical needs to be there in the play to make a person human and to make a person meaningful. Thank you for listening today and see you soon.